If you're curious about the Wright County real estate market, I will bring you a 1 minute update just here in a moment. I'm also going to bring Molly Zimmerman back from Bell Bank Mortgage so we can discuss things that are maybe a little less than obvious of what happens after you close on a property. So whether it's your first time buying a house or you've done this many times before, hopefully we're going to bring something up that is new to you and helpful. I'm Erica Carlson. I'm with a boutique brokerage called Bricks Real Estate. I help people in the West Metro, the Twin Cities at large. If you learn anything new today, I hope you'll join me on my growing channels, whether you're finding this on YouTube, Instagram, or my Facebook page. Of course, if you're ready to get started or you just have a question, don't hesitate to click on the link below. I've got Molly's information there, my personal calendar. All questions are welcome in regards to real estate. This is exactly why I'm here, is to help you answer these questions. Let's jump into the market update. The two questions that people have most of the time is the value of my property going up or down? And then if I were to sell my property today, how long would it take? So let's start with the median price. Right now in Wright County, we're sitting at $345,000, which is about 1% more than this time last year. And as for how long it's going to take, well, that number has been holding steady for a few weeks. We're sitting at 54 days, which is a little bit slower than it was at this time last year. We are in a stable real estate market, which means we're neither in more of a heavy sellers or buyers market. I'm going to show you on my screen what's happening at the Twin Cities at large because it is interesting. We were at more of a buyer's market through the holiday season. And the last couple weeks we moved into stable. So this means sellers should expect to get a reasonable price, a fair price, depending on how they're marketing it. They still are going to want to keep that in mind. It's not going to have that craziness necessarily of multiple offers and going, 50,000, 100,000 above asking because that demand just isn't quite there yet. And for buyers, it doesn't mean like there's a steal of the lifetime, but there should be plenty of inventory options for you. The website that should be on my screen now is brickstwincities.com. If you want to look this up on your own, we always keep it updated as a brokerage. But just real quick, if you look down, because this is an interactive graph, hopefully you can see my mouse here. This week we're at 5.08, and the way we translate and understand that data is we look up here in the paragraph and it says 4 to 5.99 is a stable market. So when we hit 6, which will be relatively soon if I had to predict, we're going to hit that seller's market, which means sellers are going to be able to demand higher prices or it'll naturally happen because of competition. Again, that means that the house inventory compared to the buyer demand is unequal, which means that's why the sellers, get that upper hand. All right, let's change gears. We're going to bring Molly back. She's been with us before. We're going to discuss these things that are going to happen after you close.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, of course. Well, I did mention in the intro that we were going to talk about things that people should expect. And so I'll just kind of kick us off here with the first thing that comes to mind is the thing that happens on closing day. We always talk to people. Well, the title people do. Honestly, you and I probably are a little bit quieter at that moment, but there are a lot of scams and a lot of junk mail that comes out because what happens is your address becomes public information. And so I've been told, I haven't seen this myself, but it is almost like a matter of fact that you are going to get scams in the mail. It's important that if you didn't hear the person on closing day tell you this, that you hear it now. You have to be prepared for it. If there's something where they're asking for money, that's probably the scam, right? The junk mail is kind of obvious, but if you get something that looks like, hey, do you need a copy of your title or your deed? I've seen copies of this. They look very, very realistic. You need to take pause and take a picture of it, send it to your loan officer, your title person, or your real estate agent, and have them look at it. The thing that makes it so suspicious to us as professionals is you just paid for that. You might have not realized it. It might have felt just so crazy on closing day because your mind is in a million places with the movers and all the various things that we're talking to you guys about on closing day. But if you get something in the mail asking for money, the truth is you just paid for it. And so I guess it is like actually a legitimate thing. They will send you a copy of what you're paying for, but you don't need it because the title company just gave it to you. So that's That's like a really big issue. Actually, these are, and I don't know if you've heard recently, Molly, but I heard they're getting over $100 now. So
Yeah,
the
basically
request,
making money off of something you already have or can get for free. So I think
yeah.
being aware of that is just important. Look for your monthly statement. That's going to be the important one, and the one that you don't want to miss that first payment due date. And with that being said, also just kind of be aware that as a lender, you may get some sort of like a servicing transfer letter in the mail also. And for us, like we service a lot of our loans, but it might be your loan has been sold to Fannie or Freddie, which just means that we're backed by one of the agencies. However, your loan would still be serviced by Bell Bank in that case. So you would still make your payments to us. It is common for some lenders to not service their loans, however. So you may actually get a letter from the original lender and then, the other lender who may be purchasing that loan, just stating, hey, your loan has now transferred from, A company to B company. So watching for those things is also very important.
I do have a quick funny story. I was just talking to my parents about this this past weekend about, how servicing a loan is different than originating a loan. And I won't say the name, just I don't know, I just feel like protecting it a little bit. But there's a servicer, or maybe they originate loans too, but their name is kind of silly. And I guess my mom's loan was sold to them. So she took pause and said, she knew what service, she knew all these things, but she was like, the name is so goofy, she didn't really believe that it was legitimate. And to that point, if your loan is serviced by somebody else, you're confused. Just take a pause and reach out to your original loan officer. Also, I have to say, it doesn't mean your loan officer went out of business. That's another thing I've heard people say, which is so and so, I don't know where they think they went. They don't do it anymore. And I'm like, that that is not true. They're still fully in business. You should be able to text or call them anytime and check in. So if there's confusion around servicing and why somebody else, you have to pay somebody else. But I think taking pause is okay, right, Molly? Because
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, branching off of that, it's like you said, it's servicing. Some companies do loans only to sell them, so they're
Mhm.
never going to service your loan. So I mean, it doesn't mean they're out of business. That's just not what they're tapping their feet into. Is they're just not going to service the loans. They're going to sell them off and then continue to originate only. We do both, so every company is set up a little bit differently.
Yeah, and it's a great question when you're starting the process if it's important to you. I don't know if it should be a huge sticking point as a consumer if you know how that works, but just ask that question if you have a concern. Now, I don't know if you know this, Molly, but when people move, they tend to forget to tell the post office. So kind of going back to the junk mail, they'll still find you because they have your new address, but for all the people who knew you before, they don't. And so I know personally, it's a part of my service package is to remind my clients to forward their mail, but obviously I'm not going to go to the post office and take care of that for you. The number one thing I hear after closing is people did not forward their mail. And while you can't control what the seller does, you can control your own. And so I mean, the funniest story I have for you is recently I had someone tell me after 2 months of buying this house, they were just trying to find out where their mailbox was. So you knew nothing was happening in that regard for 2 months. I don't know what happened to their bills and stuff. And I know a lot of things are automated. So some things that are a little less obvious, the one I learned about recently was from another family member. She found out that with Amazon, every single thing you subscribe to, and I don't buy stuff like this, so I didn't know this. You have to tell Amazon every single subscription. So it's not enough to go onto Amazon and say, I have a new address. And so let's say you have 5 things on subscription. Just a little tip, you have to tell all 5. And so she had things being sent to a former address. Now, the risk there, and this is probably a little bit obvious, is you may never see that package again. That isn't your address anymore if you're, selling a property. So you're taking a huge risk by not being forward thinking and getting that stuff there. Nobody is obligated to get you the mail. I mean, I didn't mean that to be a controversial topic, but they can put no such name on your mail. And there's just a lot of oversight, especially around the holidays. I get more calls on, oh, I forgot, and I send out my Christmas packages to my old address. And it's like, they may be gone forever. So being mindful of that is extremely important.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a couple other things just to kind of be aware of after closing is I would say the majority of buyers are going to take out a loan that does include your escrow for property taxes and home insurance. But just knowing that you're still going to get a property tax bill in the mail, if that is something that's escrowed in your mortgage, you don't physically have to write a check, but you still should pay attention to that just because you're going to see if your taxes increase from, for example, this year from 24 to 25, and how much that might impact your future mortgage payment. But just keep it filed somewhere. Just be aware that if it's your lender's also going to get that bill and paid if it's escrowed. Same with homeowners insurance. You're going to get an annual renewal statement, as will your lender. So the lender will actually make that payment from your escrow account. But again, very important time to open it up, take a look at that premium and compare it to the year before, because you might be shocked if your premium increased by 50%, that's eventually going to catch up to your monthly payment. So being aware of these things early on can really benefit you in the long run. And I think the other thing is after closing, just make sure you hold on to that closing packet, because within that, your title closer is going to put a copy of your closing disclosure. And that's something that you want to make sure that you have available at tax time. You may have some items that can be written off of your tax filing. So just kind of hold on to that and be ready to pull that information out when tax time comes.
Absolutely. Most title companies are really kind and they'll give you two copies and they'll write the word tax on top, and as they're handing you the folder as we're leaving, they're like, you need this one in particular. So it should be kind of that reminder that it's important. So to wrap it up, just these things might be a little bit on the obvious side, but I have to say them. These are just Erica's preferences. I'm just going to throw it out there. The one, this one is going to be my germ phobia. I'm going to change a toilet seat. I don't know about you, Molly, but if it's a resale, not new construction, I'm probably going to send my husband to the old Home Depot and get me some new toilet seats. It just brings me a sense of comfort. I don't need a whole new toilet. Everybody's different, obviously. I'm also going to change the batteries in my smoke alarms because I feel like, again, we're talking about resale, well, even new construction. When did they put the batteries in? Like, I don't need those going off at 2 a.m, waking up the baby, making dogs bark. So just do it all at once. I heard once a tip to pick a day. And it might be like your home anniversary might be your day, is like that's how that's a dumb way to celebrate your home anniversary, but that might be your thing. Or pick the new year, something like you're always going to remember to do your batteries. So those are, I don't know about the toilet seats, but the batteries is probably kind of obvious. From a fire hazard point of view, it's like $150 right now to hire somebody to clean out your dryer vent. I think it's a very underestimated, underdone house project. I'm trying to remember right now the last time I had my guy come out. If anybody needs a recommendation for a trustworthy person in the Twin Cities, I have somebody, like I said, he's about 150. I never do it myself. I've seen videos online, but I'm on a second level. There's no way I want to mess around and screw up my dryer over cleaning out the vent. I also don't want to start a fire. And the last one, and again, I think a lot of people know this one, but change your locks, change your codes. This house, whether it was owned by somebody for 2 years before you, 20 years, high chance of neighbors having keys to your house. Them still having, frankly, keys to your house. Your family members that they forgot had extra keys and maybe they didn't tell somebody they moved. That really scares me. I'm getting a locksmith. I'm going to pay a little bit of money to go to a big box store and buy new locks, figure out how to change codes to garages and things like that. I don't think that one should be underestimated. There really could be so many people out there with sets of keys to your houses. So my last comment on that is sometimes people show up to closing day and they're actually kind of angry because let's say they get a door key to one door and they don't get it to another, and they think that's just absolutely outrageous that they didn't get a key to every single exterior door. My attitude's a little different. I don't really care. If I can get into the house after closing, I'm changing all the locks anyway. So I don't need a bazillion keys that you've saved that you could probably frankly be thrown away, or I'm going to throw them away. But I do kind of find it a nitpicky detail if I'm missing a key or two, because why? It's not safe for me to keep the doors like that anyway. And it's surprising, Molly. There are so many people out there where I'm like, can I get a key to this door? You know, we're putting the house on the market. And they're like, I've literally never had a key to that door. Oh, like all these years. Well, they don't use it that way. You know, there's another door they use. A lot of people don't lock the garage door. You know, I guess that's a whole nother safety topic. But you know, you can't be terribly surprised when you close and there isn't a key for every exterior door. Just a lot of people don't use their house like that. So it's not unheard of. Well, if you made it to the end with us, we absolutely appreciate you. Hope you learned something new. We're both on Instagram and Facebook. I've got a YouTube channel with information like this. We'd love for you to join us. But more importantly, we're here as a local resource and are happy to take any of your real estate and financing calls and questions. Our information's below. We hope you have a fantastic week. Thanks, Molly.
Thank you.